So I was born and raised in a Christian home. From the time I was small, I always knew who God was. I knew that He loved me. The Bible was always read. We went to Sunday school. Dad was a pastor. So my story of how I became a Christian really started when I was little, and it was in Sunday school, and it was saying yes to the offer to give your life to the Lord Jesus Christ. But when I got to be a teenager, I'd ask myself, what difference does it make? How much am I willing to sacrifice for this truth, to live the life that Jesus would have me live? And as a teenager, I started saying, well, I think maybe I could have my cake and eat it too. So I'll believe these right things. I know that I'm secure in my salvation. I'll go to heaven. But, I could probably check this area out over here and this area out over here. Just like a frog in boiling water, a little at a time, I became a person that I never wanted to be. And it took me off guard because I thought that a person would be who they wanted to be. If you wanted to be somebody, then you would be that person. In reality, what happened is I had this idea of who I wanted to be. And meanwhile, day by day, I was making decisions that were turning me into a different person. And I really believe that God opened my eyes to see clearly who I was becoming so that He could scare me straight to become the person that I really wanted to be. It was a real wake-up call. It was like a light bulb went on, and I started thinking to myself questions like, how did I get here? And it just kind of stood out to me, and I said, God, how did I become this way? And God reminded me, I became that way one day at a time by doing it in my own power, trying to be a good person, but do it in my own power and strength, my own understanding, and it was an absolute failure. And it was at that moment when I realized who I'd become that I cried out to God. And I said, God, you got to help me get out of this mess that I got myself into. And when I got to that place of surrender, God more than met me there. And God just, took me right back like the prodigal son that I was and said, welcome back. I'm so glad that you finally got your fill of all that, the lifestyle that you thought you wanted. But then I had to deconstruct my life one bit at a time. I didn't just make a decision and everything changed. I had the same bad friends. I had the same bad habits. And I had to go to God and ask God to help me with that. And God says, you need to get some new friends. I had nobody to hang out with, nobody to go and do anything with. And it was miserable. But in that place, I could take a stand for what I knew was right. And as much as I had built a bad life, God allowed me to deconstruct and build a good life, one decision at a time. So if you're in a place in life where you're going, I want to fix some stuff in my life, but it's hard to do. And I kind of told the story so fast that it almost seems like, I woke up one day and then I made a couple decisions, and by a year later, I was a changed man. The reality is it took me years to get off track, and it took me years to get back on track. And I was just disgusted with why can't I do this? And it's in that place of disgust that you learn, because you can't. God has to. To this day, it scares me to think how close I was to never becoming that person. Not because I had evil intentions, but because I tried to do things on my own power. I can't live on my own. I can only live for Christ.